Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
And I'm number one fan, Tim.
Netflix has a show called Big Mouth. It is animated.
Okay.
It is about children in middle school, going into high school, going through puberty.
Okay.
And it's very dirty and it's hilarious. The way they deal with all this adolescent sexual blossoming.
Okay, like how?
They have hormone monsters. Like the kids can't see to this hormone monsters, but the hormone monsters are constantly telling them like, "Oh, you're at a sleepover and your friend is asleep? Quick, go into the bathroom and take this picture of his mom and pound one out." Shit like that. It's like really irreverent, and some of the times you're like, whoa.
Okay. I've been watching F is for Family, so...
F is for Family is good. It's very good.
It's really good.
But you should watch Big Mouth, too.
Okay, well, I guess it would be because, drama is going through her changes, and holy fuck. If this gets any worse, I'm going to shoot myself.
Yeah, well, don't let the kids watch it, because it's not for kids.
Okay.
Just fair warning. So the reason I bring that up is on the show.
If it's for family either.
Okay. So the reason I bring that up is there's a character on the show, Missy. She's of mixed race ethnicity. She has one black parent, her father, and one white parent, her mother, who's also Jewish.
Okay.
Now that character is voiced by comedian Jenny Slate, who's both white and Jewish. So
Never heard of her.
She's funny as hell. And so she voices a character that is not white. And in the last week, she came to this weird moral epiphany that she no longer is going to voice that character so that a person of color can voice that character.
Okay. She's white.
Yep.
The character she's playing, the mom is white, and the character's father is black. So she's basically mixed. So why can't she play a mixed character?
There's no reason why she can't. And this is hilarious how it has fucking exploded on Twitter. Because people were, praising her for doing this. And that's a job that they should have offered to a person of color to begin with. Why would you have a white person voicing a character that's mixed race or, anything but white?
Well, I just want to interject. I'm pretty sure the producers and the directors and everybody involved probably had a bunch of people audition, and they went with somebody that has good comedic timing, can probably speak very well in public, and didn't care what the skin color was because they were going with the person who has those two things. Can voice act and good comedic timing. Not everybody has good comedic timing.
Well, you hit the nail on the head because what I put out there is the color of a person's skin should not matter when we're talking about animation, because the producers of the show, the people that do the vocal talent scouting or directing, look for somebody that can give a performance that breathes life into the character and enriches the material.
Yeah.
So one thing I didn't tell you about this show, because I didn't want to go into it with a loaded gun here, is this show was created by a bunch of stand-up comics who are all friends and have been for years.
Okay.
So people are like, I can't believe they had a white person voicing a black character. And it's like, there's nothing nefarious about that. They knew each other. There's singing involved in this. So because she can sing, I'm sure it helped her. But the voice she created for this character is great. So now they're going to change it, which I disagree with because it's animation. The last thing that you should be worried about is the ethnicity of the person voicing the character. It's fucking acting. Just like you and Bill Burr went into this in his most recent stand-up special, Paper Tiger.
I love that special. Oh my God, that special's hilarious.
It's fucking great.
It's great. Spot on.
He talks about Eddie Redmayne playing Stephen Hawking. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's like, well, why didn't you have a real crippled person play Stephen Hawking? Well, should we only have, like, the person that is the thing in the movie portray the thing in the movie? Because I'm pretty sure that's fucking called acting. Which is the point. You stretch the imagination. So we've got all these people outraged that white Jenny Slate is voicing little biracial Missy. And I'm sitting here shrugging like, why do you have to fucking attach this weird socio-political race argument to everything? In America, it's always race, race, race.
Honestly, my opinion is people who always look for race somewhere. Try to label a race to somebody, a skin color somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, you can't have a white person voicing a black character. You can't have a black person voicing a white character. Why the fuck not?
Oh, that's the thing. Nobody's up in arms about a black guy voicing a white guy. That's only when white people are potentially, and I'm air quoting this, taking jobs from people of color. And it's funny because months ago, Hank Azaria stepped down from voicing Apu on The Simpsons, and he's done it for 31 years. He's like, I don't feel right doing it anymore.
What?
Well, because people's like, you're doing an impression of an Indian American stereotype. Okay, well, he created that voice for the character.
What show isn't based on stereotyping? Like Big Bang Theory?
Nerds.
Yeah. Like completely nerding up nerds. Because I know a lot of nerds. They're not all like that. They take the stereotype and they just increase it. So Apu, he just increased it, for the comedy of the show to make him a memorable character. Because if you ask anybody who Apu is, they know exactly who Apu is.
Well, and they focus on the whole Quickie Mart angle, but think of how many years they've had to breathe life into that character and how many actual deep, compelling stories they've told about Apu.
There was one episode where there was a lot.
When he got fired. When him and his wife had, I think it's sextuplets or octuplets.
They had 8, yeah.
There's like this rich history of that character.
They've done a lot of episodes for Apu.
And Hank Azaria has done a magnificent job of never just being a stereotypical Indian American who owns a gas station. That's the basis of the character, but it's not the whole character.
No, it's not. So who's going to replace Hank Azaria then? Just want to brainstorm this. Would it be the guy, I don't know his name, from 4-Year-Old Virgin?
It could be.
The one in the store. It's like, do you see a fucking turban? That guy from the store?
I don't know who they're going to get because here's another thing that people were pissed off about. Mike Henry does the voice of Cleveland Brown on Family Guy and also The Cleveland Show when he had a spinoff for a bit. Okay, Cleveland's black. Mike Henry is white.
That was voiced by a white guy?
Yes.
Oh.
It shouldn't fucking matter, should it?
Don't think it matters because I never really... Cleveland was... Okay, maybe this isn't important, but Cleveland wasn't my favorite character in there because he talked too slow, in my opinion.
Well, that's kind of... He had a southern drawl. But the thing of it is...
But I liked Cleveland more than I like Quagmire.
Yeah.
I hate Quagmire.
Well, the thing about with Mike Henry... Somebody said this on Twitter. I was fucking up people's asses on Twitter about this shit, about how this fucking social justice PC jihadism run amok. Somebody said Mike Henry has been voicing this Cleveland Brown character, a black man, when he's white for 21 years. How dare they let him do that?
Years already?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yes. And this one woman said he should take all the money that he made after portraying a black man and put it into the black community and black resources. And I'm like, what the fuck? You're turning it into like a reparations mindset? What the shit? People were also pissed that he voices multiple characters on a show, right? So someone's like, it's not just that he took a job away from a person of color. Think of how many other people he took jobs away from. And I just lost it on this person like, hey, dumb fuck. I don't know if you realize this, but multiple shows employ one voice actor in many roles. And they do it for cost-saving measures because if you had to pay every actor, if there was a different person for every fucking character role, it wouldn't pay to do voice acting. You already get shit for money. So Seth MacFarlane, who created Family Guy, does Peter, Quagmire, Brian, Stewie, and Mike Henry does Cleveland.
He does Quagmire?
Yes, he does.
Okay, I knew he did the other characters. I didn't know he did Quagmire.
Yeah, and Mike Henry does Cleveland. He also does Consuela. So are they not going to have him do Consuela the maid anymore?
Oh, probably not, because he's a white guy and he's portraying a Hispanic woman.
And so I just said to somebody, one person doing multiple voices for one intellectual property has been going on since the advent of spoken word in modern animation. Mel Blanc, motherfucker, Google him. Because if you know who Mel Blanc was, he worked at Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And he voiced Bugs Bunny and just about every other goddamn Looney Tune when they started. I'm not even kidding, dude. He did 90% of the characters. One fucking guy. Think of all the different ranges of the characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bugs, Daffy, Porky, Tweety, Sylvester, Elmer Fudd, Yosemite Sam, Tasmanian Devil, Speedy Gonzales, Pepe Le Pew. Now, I'm not 100% on all of those that he did, but he did 90% of them. Okay? He had that kind of range, and he's that good. If you look at the Ninja Turtles cartoon from the 80s and 90s, all right, you had the main voice actors that did the Turtles. Cam Clark did Leonardo, and Rob Paulson did Raphael. Barry Gordon did Donatello. Townsend Coleman did Michelangelo. But you know who did the voice of Shredder?
No.
James Avery. And who is James Avery? Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. A black man voiced Shredder who was a Japanese import.
Well, I had no idea.
Okay, but here's the thing. Rob Paulson and Cam Clark worked together on a number of fucking shows. They are two of the most prominent American voice actors. They're both white, and just about every show they're on, they do multiple characters.
Because they have good range. They got different voices. Yeah, I mean, there's...
Well, trust me, whenever you hear Rob Paulson, you know it's Rob Paulson. There's always a hint of Rob Paulson. Another important name is Maurice LaMarche, who does the Brain on Pinky and the Brain.
Okay. Yeah, some of these names are kind of remembering, because didn't we talk about this before?
Dr. Murr and I did.
It was, yeah, you
because
Dr.
he
Murr.
was doing auditions for voice acting roles.
That's where I heard it from, yeah.
So, I mean, he was doing an audition to do like an airline commercial. And then he did another one where he created this voice for this orc character. And he did kind of like a gruff Cockney accent. Mm-hmm. But he had to employ tusks because they have tusks. Anyway, so what? Dr. Murr can't voice an orc? Should we get an orc to voice an orc? Should we only get gay people to play gay people on TV? Should we only get black guys to voice black characters in animation? Should we only get cripples to portray cripples on camera? Like, where do you draw the line? This is suspensive belief, and this idea that you need to uniformly apply across the board these fucking ridiculous social justice standards. You're not going to have one person for one role. That's not a fiscally sound idea.
Well, like I said, yeah, I mean, if they had to have... Take The Simpsons with how many characters they have. They had to have 55 different people voicing 55 different characters. Each person might get maybe $1,000 an episode. Well, which is like $24,000 a year, which ain't much.
Yeah, and you look at The Simpsons vocal cast, right?
I think there's like 8 main people, but Hank Azaria,
Dan Castellaneta, Hank Azaria, Nancy Cartwright, Harry Shearer, Julie Kavner. Okay, so Nancy Cartwright has been voicing Bart Simpson since 1988. And prior to that, even, when they were just the shorts on the Tracy Ullman show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure
she's always done Bart, yeah.
They all carried over.
You know, it's funny. It was probably 5 years after they started The Simpsons that I learned a woman voiced Bart Simpson.
Right, but was anybody like, how dare you not have a kid voice a kid? No, because that's fucking retarded, because children are not going to have the range and the timing and the ability to take written word like that and bring it to life the way that she does, or anybody in this industry does. There's a reason you get picked for a voice role. It's not just because you fucking showed up and there's like this affirmative action quota that you have eczema. Imagine not having anybody in animation portray a race that they aren't. Like, at all. Like, it could come to this. Because The Simpsons recently said, we're no longer going to have white voice actors portray ethnic characters at all.
So are they going to hire black, ethnic people to play the ethnic characters, or are they just not going to have ethnic characters anymore?
Well,
because then the show will be called racist because they don't have any ethnic characters on there.
Here's a funny thing. The Simpsons, everybody's yellow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you think of who's yellow, they always associate that with Asians.
Weird,
black, white, red, yellow, and brown.
Yeah.
Okay, so are they going to have The Simpsons only voiced by Asians now?
Or is their skin color going to magically change?
Remember the episode where they see this Japanese washing suds commercial? Mr. Sparkle! And it's Homer's picture, basically.
I remember it. Yeah.
And they had a Japanese voice coming out of Homer's mouth. Imagine if every character in The Simpsons suddenly had a thick Japanese accent. Or Chinese or some Asian accent.
I don't even want to fathom.
It's fucking animation, but it shouldn't matter because if we're talking live action or live camera actors, you have all kinds of people portraying different races and sexual orientations and walks of life. Eddie Redmayne as fucking Stephen Hawking. Eddie Redmayne knocked that shit out of the park. Yeah, my overarching point here is that you have black people put on white makeup to portray white characters. The Wayans brothers made a movie called White Chicks. Nobody's saying shit about white chicks. Nobody said shit back in the day. Was it 85 when Coming to America came out? 85, 86?
Yeah, Eddie Murphy played the white old guy in the barbershop.
Recently when Jimmy Fallon caught hell for an old sketch from SNL where he put on brown pancake stage makeup so he could do an impression of Chris Rock. He portrayed Chris Rock. He did it masterfully. I watched the sketch. It's not offensive. He's not mocking black stereotypes like people are like, that's blackface, you're racist, you need to cancel Jimmy Fallon. Fuck that shit.
No, that's like the same shit I was actually reading earlier today with Jimmy Kimmel supposedly was catching heat because
he portrayed Karl Malone.
Yeah, he was, and his statement was like, I wasn't trying to mock black people, I wasn't trying to mock culture, I was trying to portray Karl Malone, and I was trying to do it properly, and it was just part of the bit. And so, it was like I wasn't just mocking people. So I guess
that's the opposite of what Fallon did.
I guess he's getting a pat. Is it the opposite of what Fallon did? Because
Fallon went full on Apollodazzle tour, and it was insensitive, and I regret it, and I wish I never would have done it, and I'm very sorry.
Okay, but what they both did that with quote blackface is the same.
Yes.
It's just Fallon's immediately apologizing for it. Jimmy Kimmel is saying, no, I didn't do anything wrong. This wasn't to mock people. This was to try to portray a person, a certain person. And then there was she was at Fox News and she left that to go to network TV.
Megyn Kelly.
Somebody asked her about blackface because there was a bunch of stuff, like the premiere of Canada was caught with blackface photos and all that. And they asked her, well, what do you think of it? And she basically said what Jimmy Kimmel said. And she got fired from her network job.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, is she going to get her job back? Because if it's okay for Kimmel to say it, it's okay for her. Or is Kimmel going to get fired now?
I agree with you on that completely. Here's the thing about Jimmy Fallon. Because Kimmel's hitting it right on the head. He should not say, I'm sorry, I regret it. Because he did it in context and people are taking it way over the line. Just like they are with all these voice character arguments. But with Fallon, he was playing one guy. He did it so well. And you have to think, why is Jimmy Fallon apologizing for a sketch that was on a show that was created and run by Lorne Michaels? Lorne Michaels had to approve that script for that sketch from the writers that put it together. NBC had to see it before it went to air because it's a live show. Therefore, they have to apply it to standards and practices ahead of time, more so than a show that would be scripted. So why is Jimmy Fallon falling on the sword of the mighty Peacock Network at large? Because they did nothing wrong, in my opinion. And it should not be wrong for someone to put on brown stage pancake makeup to portray a person of color. Or if someone is black and they put on white makeup, Dave Chappelle's done it a bunch of times, to play white characters. You're playing a character.
Eddie Murphy
You're
did
suspending
it a lot,
belief. Yes, people do that shit. I didn't hear obese people mad that they didn't hire a big fat fuck for the Nutty Professor for when Eddie Murphy was in the big bodysuit and shit, or when they did the clumps.
God, how many characters did he play in that one?
Every fucking one. So he took jobs away from like 5 people.
Yeah.
But just this madness that everybody needs to be everything that they're portraying, what are you hoping to achieve? You think that you're combating systemic racism, but you're not. What you're doing is pissing people off and driving them further down the belief that your lunacy is far overstepping where it needs to be. Jimmy Fallon didn't need to apologize for anything. And neither did Jimmy Kimmel, because guess what? That wasn't blackface. They're calling it blackface. It's not. If you see blackface, you fucking look it up. Dark black, white around the lips. It's a fucking mockery of black people. They do that. Like they were mocking all those black stereotypes. That's blackface. This was not. This was a one-to-one portrayal of another comedian by a comedian. Or a portrayal, in Kimmel's case, of an NBA player and Hall of Famer by a comedian.
Or in the case of Tropic Thunder, you got Robert
Downey Jr. is playing
an Australian who's playing an African American in a movie.
Yeah.
Who's playing, it's great. I'm the dude disguised as another dude that's dressed as another dude.
Yeah.
That movie's great.
So all of this really, upsets the hell out of me. There is no shortage of people of color that are represented in voice animation. There's not. Nor is there any lack of representation of black culture on TV. I got into another pissing match with somebody about that shit when I'm like, you're sitting here arguing that there needs to be more representation of people of color on TV, and I'm telling you right now, 3 of the best shows that have all black casts would be The Last OG, Atlanta, and Blackish. And they're like, oh, that's 3 shows. I'm like, what about BET? That's only one network, and it came on the air 30 years ago. I'm like, but that's the thing. By saying it's just one network, by saying that's just 3 shows, when I say that there are many shows with all black casts, historically, you think The Cosby Show, Living Single, Martin, Family Matters.
The Jeffersons?
They had a few white characters, but
predominantly every show had a few
black
but the
leads.
show focused around a black family or a group of black people, however you want to word it. And they were great shows. Okay, I didn't like Family Matters that much. I couldn't stand Urkel, but
that's a whole other thing, though. It was an accurate portrayal of an American black family in Chicago.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So, like I just said, you had What's Happening. You had Good Times. There have been shows that portrayed black people in sitcoms, especially, in a respectful sense. It didn't mock them. I mean, in sitcoms, you play up the characters some for comedic effect, but you're never outright mocking them. But BET, standalone, achievement on its own. A major network, started in 1980. It had a couple of hours of programming. And at the time, it was playing on a station that was the Madison Square Garden Sports Network that then became, I think, USA.
I'm not sure the history.
Well,
I know it popped up on cable in the 90s, though.
1983 is when BET became a full-fledged network.
Okay.
So, somebody's like, yeah, that was 30 years ago. No, what you are failing to see with your short-sighted liberal bullshit is that it started 30 years ago, meaning it's been a fucking network. It's going on 40 fucking years.
And it's popular.
1980 to 2020 is 40 fucking years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So in 2023, BET will have been a network for 40 fucking years.
And not only that, but they did it at a time in the early 80s. There was probably way more racism back then than there was now. Or, you wouldn't think something like that would take off back in the early 80s.
But that's the thing is...
It did, though.
I get that there's only one black network. I'm sure there's more. But I'm not black, so I don't go seeking them out. I'm sure there's more because there's like Telemundo and Univision. There's multiple Spanish language American network. Like, these segments are represented. They are. So to say they're not is fucking horse shit. And to act like there needs to be more black representation in TV and in media in general. Motherfucker, do you understand that if we applied that principle in the reverse, there needs to be more white representation, and we stuck that like on the NBA, because they got a white Jewish fucking commissioner. What if he said there needs to be more white Jews in the NBA? Imagine if you tried to say, sorry, too many blacks in the NBA, too many blacks in the NFL, too many Dominicans in baseball, too many white guys in hockey. It's about being the best at what you do, so you get to do that for a living, not just all these fucking participant ribbons and all of this goddamn affirmative action bullshit. There's so many parts of American culture and everyone's crying systemic racism this and systemic racism that. Tell me how you're being held down. We make sure that there are more than enough scholarships for people of color, and affirmative action helps people get jobs for people of color. You have the NFL who put a rule into effect so there has to be at least 2 minority interviews for every fucking coaching job. You can vote, you can move, you can get any job, you can marry anybody of any color. There's still racists out there. The Klan still exists. I'm sure somewhere they're burning crosses right now. But the fact of the fucking matter is they're making this giant conspiracy for black people, like we're not giving them a voice and options, and we are. And it's come down to fucking cartoons. How insane is that?
It's insane.
For the life of me, I did not ever think that we'd be sitting there having deep conversations about the ethnicity of voice actors. Because there's so many more important things, like police reform. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann.
And I'm number 1 fan Tim.
And that's the end.